With Christmas having come and gone, and New Year's being just around the corner, I figured it's about time I tell you dudes what the holidays are like when they're celebrated in El Salvador. Christmas is similar in some ways to other places in the world. We give gifts and presents to each other, and there's also a lot of religious stuff associated with the holiday. Like some people might put up a nativity scene somewhere in their house, and they'll go out on the street and sing about the Virgin Mary or something, and many others congregate with their religious groups and do their thing. There is one huge difference with how we celebrate Christmas though, and that's fireworks. For most people, Christmas means spending a relaxing time with relatives they haven't seen in a while, or putting on their favorite Kenny G Christmas album and listening to it while they have chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Christmas in El Salvador is a war zone in comparison, because fireworks are blowing up everywhere around you. It's something I'm still adjusting to, because for Christmas, Jenny likes to make a potpourri of stuff in a pot, like with cinnamon and apple cider and a sprig of pine tree and stuff like that, and to her that smells like Christmas. I smell her concoction and it smells nice, but to me, Christmas will always smell like stuff burning and fireworks powder. For the whole week leading up to Christmas, fireworks vendors set up shop and they all start peddling their wares, trying to get people to buy their explosives and not the competition's. My dad would take me and my brothers every year to go buy fireworks. We'd all get our own bags and we'd walk around the kiosks looking through everything with him. In Cajun cooking, there's what's called a holy trinity of ingredients: onions, bell peppers, and celery. You can't expect to cook anything Cajun without them. In El Salvador, there's a holy trinity of fireworks that every kid needs in order to celebrate Christmas the right way: morteros, silbadores, and metralletas. After we'd all gotten some good stuff from the kiosks, my dad would take us all back home, and then me and my brothers would blow up fireworks on the street in front of our house. And my dad would sit outside reading a newspaper and keeping an eye on us. Kids needed to be supervised because every Christmas you'd hear about some kid getting a finger blown off by a mortero, or you'd read in the newspaper about a toddler that got his face burnt because no one was watching him. We had a lot of close calls ourselves throughout the years, so in the spirit of Christmas and New Year's and all that good stuff, here's a list of some common El Salvador fireworks and some of the crazy things that happened involving each one of them. The first one on the list is the mortero, which literally means mortar. They're called M80s in other places, and they've always been a staple during Christmas time. The regular ones are about the size of a beer can, but they can get much larger than that. The biggest ones got as high as up to around my waist when I was younger. One time, me and my brother are in front of my house blowing some morteros up. Morteros always come with a fuse stuffed into it in a little loop, like the end of a shoelace or something. So what you can do is you grab one end of the loop and you pull it out, and now you have a longer fuse, which gives you more time to run away after you've lit it and thrown it. I was always a real coward when it came to fireworks, so I'd do it that way. But my brother always got real gung-ho with morteros, and he'd light the fuse at the center without pulling it out. This only gave him a couple of seconds at most to get rid of it, and on this particular night, he was getting real cocky. He lights a mortero up, and I'm telling him to throw it quick or he's gonna blow his hand off, but he starts taunting me with it. I run away from where he is, he laughs at me, and he throws the mortero at the last second. We both brace ourselves and wait for it to blow up, but it doesn't go off. Sometimes you'd throw morteros and the force of your throw would blow the fuse out, or sometimes the fuse would get put out as the mortero was rolling on the floor. What complicated our situation even more is that firework makers in El Salvador would always stuff their fireworks with newspaper shreddings. So the more fireworks you blew up in an area, the more it would get covered up with all that paper. We wait around a bit longer to make sure it isn't just a slow fuse, and then my brother starts walking around carefully near where he threw it. All we can see is bunches of paper shreddings everywhere until he spots it half buried under a small pile. He turns to me and he says, "I found it, it's right here," and the mortero explodes inches away from where he's standing. My ears start ringing and I see him jumping around everywhere, making sure he didn't just get one of his toes blown off because he's wearing sandals. And for the rest of the night, I'd see him pulling out the fuses on his morteros as a safety precaution, but I pretended like I didn't notice. Another time, some friends call me up and they tell me they've pooled all their money together and they've bought one of those huge morteros. I get over there and they're carrying that explosive monstrosity between all four of them, taking it over to a secluded dead end in their neighborhood. I stand way far back and I watch them light it, and then they come running full speed over to where I am. We all see the lit fuse getting closer and closer to the mortero, so I close my eyes and cover my ears. The mortero blows up and it sounds like a bomb just went off. The impact reaches all of us and it feels like someone just punched me right in the gut. I take my hands off my ears and I hear all my friends laughing something, but they sound real far away. Once all of our hearing comes back, we realize that there's a cacophony of car alarms going off all around us, that the blast from the mortero activated every car alarm on this entire side of my friend's neighborhood. We all run back to my friend's house, scared that we're gonna get in trouble, and for the rest of the night, we stayed in his room playing video games, until a few hours later, we get a call from another one of our friends, telling us that he and his cousins pooled some money together and they bought one of those huge morteros, and if we want to go over to their neighborhood to check it out. The second firework on the list is the Salvador, which literally means whistler. The first time you light one up, it's scary because the fuse starts shooting out sparks, but you have to keep holding it in your hand. Once the fuse reaches the Salvador, you hear the characteristic whistle of the firework, and then a whole bunch of sparks start coming out of it. It looks like a rocket taking off, and that's when you throw it and it goes flying every which way. These fireworks have probably caused millions of dollars in property damage throughout El Salvador because their flight paths are super unpredictable. Sometimes you'd throw a Salvador straight as an arrow in front of you, but then for some reason it decided to make a U-turn and fly right at your face. One time, my brother threw one straight up into the sky. It swerved to the right and it landed on an abandoned plot of land, and then everything started catching on fire. Another Christmas, I lit one, I threw it into an empty beer bottle to see what would happen, and it flew right out of the bottle and onto the neighbor's front lawn, and again, everything started catching on fire. Everyone in El Salvador has either set something on fire with a Salvador by accident or knows someone that did. Salvadores are fucking crazy. One time, me, Chamba, my brother, and some of his friends are at my house. We gather all of our Salvadores and we make a circle with all of them facing outwards. We tie up all of the fuses together in the middle, and then we all start making our escape plans. Chamba tells us his plan is to run where an old Datsun car is parked, and he's gonna get behind it and none of the Salvadores will ever get him. I say I'm gonna run as far as I can down the street in a straight line, because Salvadores always bounce around and swerve like crazy, so if I keep the same trajectory, I have more of a chance of staying safe from harm. We light the fuses and every Salvador starts shooting out tons of sparks. We all bolted out of there, but our calculations were incorrect. It seems that having all the fuses tied together has created a concentration of heat or something, so the fuses end up reaching the Salvadores in half the time we had predicted. So Chamba's still a long ways away from the Datsun when he gets pelted with a Salvador on his shoulder. I've abandoned my straight line strategy and I'm swerving left and right, and Salvadores are flying right under my legs. The barrage of Salvadores won't stop, so we end up seeking shelter inside my house, but the little bastards have somehow managed to find their way inside there too, ricocheting everywhere around us as we all get into a fetal position and vow to never do anything this stupid ever again. There's other fireworks like the metralleta, which means machine gun. You've got estrellitas, which are like sparklers and they're given to little kids to play with, but there's one firework that holds a special place in my heart because it's the one that almost killed me and my brother once. They're called fulminantes in El Salvador, which means detonator or percussion cap from what I could find on Google Translate. There are these little balls you can throw on the ground and they make a tiny explosion. I've seen variants of these in the States. They're called bang snaps or poppets, but whenever you throw those on the ground, all you see is a bit of smoke and they're a lot safer. Fulminantes in El Salvador shoot sparks out and there's a tiny explosion when they're thrown. They have actual dangerous crap in them. It was around mid-April one year and I was on the family's computer. There's a couch in the same room, and on that couch was a box that had been sitting there for months. My brother walks into the room and I don't know what it was. I think he was upset that I'd been hogging the computer all day and he had to get some project done. And I tell him that I'm just gonna be a couple more minutes. So my brother sits down frustrated on the couch and he's like, alright, just a couple more minutes though. And he shoves the box off the couch. The box lands on the floor and we hear a familiar snapping sound. It's the unmistakable popping sound of a fulminante that's at the bottom of that box. Time seems to slow down as we both have a sudden moment of realization that this box contains every single leftover firework from last year's Christmas. The spark of the fulminante ignites God knows what inside the box and a whole bunch of smoke starts billowing out from the top. My brother grabs one of the couch cushions and he jumps on top of the box. A mortero immediately goes off near the bottom of the box and a Salvador flies out of it. My brother's got both of his legs up in the air and he's pushing down on the box as hard as he can. He looks at me and he says, "There were fireworks in this box." And I say, "I know, what the fuck?" And Salvadores keep flying everywhere and morteros keep going off, and we're both worried we're about to set the whole house on fire, but we're laughing our asses off at the same time. The box finally stops exploding after about a minute, and the whole computer room smells like Christmas. My brother removes the couch cushion malfunction from the box and it has a huge hole burnt into it. It's like in those movies where people get shot but they had a Bible in their chest pocket and that's what stopped the bullet or something. The couch was just a mere inches away from having been punctured through. My parents are gonna get home in a couple of hours, so we scrambled to clean the whole computer room up. The tiled floor is all burnt up in black. There's newspaper shreddings everywhere. We barely managed to clean everything up and spray a ton of Airwick everywhere before my parents come home and they ask us, "So, what have you been up to?" And we're both like, "Nothing much, just hanging out." These were just a few of the close calls I've had once December would come along in El Salvador every year. So I hope you dudes out there have a safe and awesome New Year. And remember, if you're gonna be blowing up morteros, always make sure to make the fuse longer, just to be on the safe side.